Let's go to 10,000 BC. You're walking around looking for useful stuff. Maybe a sharp stone, maybe some food, maybe something that won't immediately try to eat you. Then suddenly, you spot a strange yellow rock lying in a river. You pick it up. It's shiny. Very shiny. But there's a problem. You can't eat it. You can't hunt with it. You can't build a house with it. You can't even make a decent spear. So naturally, humanity looked at this completely impractical object and said, yes, this is the most valuable thing on Earth. Now, that sounds ridiculous, but gold had a few unusual superpowers. Unlike iron, it didn't rust. Unlike silver, it didn't tarnish. Unlike copper, it stayed bright and shiny year after year. In fact, gold is so unreactive that a gold nugget buried for thousands of years can come out looking almost exactly the same. It's basically nature's version of permanent glitter. And unlike most metals, gold sometimes appears in nature as pure nuggets. No complicated mining, no giant furnaces, just a shiny yellow surprise sitting in a stream, waiting for some curious human to notice it. And once humans noticed it, they never stopped. What began as a pretty rock would eventually build kingdoms, start wars, launch expeditions, and become the most famous metal in history. But first, humans had to do what humans do best, become completely obsessed with something shiny. At first, humans simply thought gold looked nice. Then, things escalated. Very quickly. Imagine you're living in one of the world's first civilizations. You see your neighbor wearing a shiny gold necklace. Now suddenly your normal necklace, made from shells, feels embarrassing. Congratulations, you've just experienced humanity's first luxury crisis. Around 6,000 years ago, civilizations in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and other ancient regions began collecting gold wherever they could find it. Not because they needed it, because they wanted it. Gold became the ultimate status symbol, the ancient version of a luxury sports car, only harder to park. Kings wore it, priests wore it, rich merchants wore it. If someone showed up covered in gold, everyone immediately knew they were important, or at least wanted everyone to think they were. Soon, people started digging specifically for gold. This was one of humanity's first large-scale mining operations. Thousands of workers spent years searching rivers, mountains, and deserts for more of the shiny yellow metal. And the strange thing was that gold wasn't becoming less valuable as people found more of it. It was becoming more valuable. Because every new gold discovery simply convinced more people that gold was special. Humanity had accidentally created a giant game of social proof. Everyone wanted gold because everyone else wanted gold. And this was only the beginning. Soon, one civilization would take humanity's gold obsession to a completely new level. If humanity had an Olympic competition for loving gold, ancient Egypt would win by a landslide. Other civilizations liked gold. The Egyptians absolutely adored it. To them, gold wasn't just valuable. It was divine. The Egyptians noticed something strange. People grew old. Wood rotted. Iron rusted. But gold seemed almost immortal. It stayed shiny year after year, century after century. Naturally, they reached a perfectly reasonable conclusion. This must be the skin of the gods. And honestly, if you've never seen chemistry before, that's not the worst guess. Egypt was lucky enough to have access to rich gold deposits, especially in Nubia, south of Egypt. For centuries, miners pulled enormous amounts of gold from deserts and mountains. The result? The pharaohs became incredibly wealthy. Temples filled with gold, palaces filled with gold, royal jewelry filled with even more gold. At some point, it became difficult to find a surface that wasn't decorated with gold. Then, the Egyptians had an even bigger idea. If gold lasts forever, maybe it can help us last forever too. So they filled royal tombs with gold masks, gold statues, gold furniture, gold jewelry, and enough treasure to make future archaeologists lose their minds. Thousands of years later, when archaeologists opened some of these tombs, the gold was still shining. The pharaohs were gone, their kingdoms were gone, but the gold remained. And that only made the legend of gold even stronger. Soon, gold would become something even more powerful than treasure. It would become money. For thousands of years, gold was mostly jewelry. Fancy jewelry. Very fancy jewelry. But still jewelry. Then, humans encountered one of civilization's oldest problems. Trading was annoying. Imagine you have 5 chickens, and you want a goat. Unfortunately, the goat owner doesn't want chickens. He wants fish. Now you need to find someone with fish who wants chickens. Congratulations, you've accidentally created paperwork before paperwork existed. Ancient trade was basically a giant game of, does anybody want this? Then, around 2,600 years ago, in the kingdom of Lydia, located in modern-day Turkey, someone had a brilliant idea. Instead of carrying around random pieces of gold, why not stamp them into standard coins? Suddenly, everybody knew exactly what they were getting. No weighing, no arguing, no suspicious guy claiming his gold nugget was totally authentic. Just coins. Small, shiny, trustworthy coins. Merchants loved them. Travelers loved them. Governments loved them. Probably even the goats loved them. The idea spread rapidly. The Greeks adopted gold coins. The Persians adopted gold coins. The Romans adopted gold coins. Before long, gold wasn't just treasure. It had become the language of trade. For the first time in history, a farmer, a merchant, and a king could all agree on the value of the same little piece of metal. Gold had evolved. It was no longer merely decoration. It had become money. And once gold became money, people stopped collecting it for beauty alone. Now they collected it for power. Which, as history would soon demonstrate, is where things get a little crazy. At this point, gold had become money. And once something becomes money, humans start behaving differently. By differently, I mean crossing oceans, climbing mountains, marching through deserts, and occasionally starting wars. All for a shiny yellow metal. The Romans were among the first to take gold hunting to an industrial scale. They built massive mines and moved entire mountains in search of more gold. Apparently, a reasonable amount of gold was not part of their vocabulary. Then came the age of exploration. European kingdoms heard stories of cities overflowing with gold, and suddenly everyone wanted directions. Explorers sailed across oceans searching for treasure. Some found gold. Many found disappointment. A few found both. Then there were the legends. Lost cities of gold, hidden treasure islands, pirate treasure, maps marked with giant X's. Humanity became so obsessed with gold that even fictional gold was enough to motivate dangerous adventures. But perhaps the greatest outbreak of gold madness came during the gold rushes. In 1848, gold was discovered in California. The news spread like wildfire. Farmers abandoned farms. Shopkeepers abandoned shops. Workers abandoned jobs. Thousands rushed west hoping to become rich overnight. Most didn't. In fact, many people searching for gold made less money than the people selling them shovels, which might be the most human story ever told. Yet despite all the failures, people kept chasing gold, because every gold rush carried the same promise. What if you're the lucky one? And that promise would help build empires, shape economies, and eventually influence the entire world. After gold rushes, exploration, and pirate dreams, humans did something unexpected. They decided gold wasn't just valuable, It should control the entire world economy, because of course it should. By the 1800s, many countries began using something called the gold standard. It sounded fancy, and it was. Basically, it meant paper money was backed by gold stored somewhere safe. So every time you held a banknote, it was supposed to represent real gold sitting in a vault. Somewhere. Probably. Definitely, they said. This created a global system where countries trusted each other's money based on gold reserves. In other words, trust us. We have gold. Somewhere. Please don't ask too many questions. Banks became extremely powerful. Governments became extremely careful. And gold became extremely serious. Fort Knox in the United States became a legendary gold vault, a place so secure that even rumors of it sound confident. For a while, the world economy ran on a simple idea. If you have gold, you have power. But there was a problem. Gold is limited. Human ambition is not. So countries began printing more money than they had gold to support, which is like promising 10 slices of pizza when you only have 2. Eventually, the system became too heavy to maintain, and one by one, countries started leaving the gold standard. By the 20th century, gold was no longer directly controlling money. But even after losing its official role, gold never lost its reputation. Because humans may change systems, but they don't change habits. So gold lost its job. No more running the global economy. No more official gold standard. You'd think it would retire peacefully, but nope. Gold simply found a new career. Today, it's everywhere. Not just in jewelry, but inside phones, laptops, medical equipment, and even satellites. Gold is now working harder than ever, just in tiny amounts. And here's the funny part. Even though gold is no longer official money, humans still treat it like the ultimate backup plan. When economies get shaky, people rush to gold. When uncertainty rises, gold prices often rise too. It's like gold is quietly sitting in the corner saying, I'm not in charge anymore, but keep my number. And humans are still obsessed. We wear it, we store it, we lock it in vaults. We even compare it to cryptocurrencies that promise to replace it. But gold has one advantage. It's real. You can hold it, you can't hack it, you can't accidentally forget your password to it. After thousands of years, gold has survived empires, wars, financial systems, and technological revolutions. And it's still here. Still shiny, still desired, still wearing the crown.